Hey everybody, this is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com. We're back with this week's new comic book reviews, and it's a pretty light week. Usually towards the end of the year, it gets just pretty quiet. There was still a fair amount. Marvel was super light this week. Indies were probably kind of about the biggest. DC actually had a lot of graphic novels and collections this week. Was quite a surprise. But as far as new books, there was really only a couple new number ones, and most everything I'm reviewing this week is like number twos and up. So it's just that time of the year. Next week, I'm not sure if we're gonna do a show. It kind of really hinges on what comes in. We might save that till after the first of the year. But we'll kind of see. We'll kind of see where it's all gonna land. Because also. New books are going to come in, they'll usually be later because of the holidays, especially because the holidays fall on the weekend this year. So usually that pushes everything to like Monday, and then that shows everything to Tuesday and Wednesday. So it's just going to be kind of chaos. So we'll kind of see where it all lands as far as next week's reviews go. So we'll just there may be a show, there might not be a show. So we'll just kind of leave it at that. If there isn't a show, then I'll just do a bigger show like the next week for kind of a catch up. So we'll do it that way. But let's get started with this week's stuff. First up, we have Dead Seas #1. Written by Cavan Scott with artwork by Dick Brokenshire. So what the basic premise is that there's a ship where prisoners go and they collect ectoplasm because apparently ghosts are now appearing in the real world. And so what it is they've discovered that ectoplasm is like kind of a miracle cure. It can cure diseases and help heal and stuff like that. But the problem is that like you have to be careful of the ghost, because if you come in contact with the ghost, it kind of messes your body and your mind up. So what it is they offer prisoners to come because there's this place in the ocean where the ghosts seem to be gathering. And so that's the basic premise here. It's I think the concept's really good. I wouldn't say that I was necessarily overwhelmed by the first issue, but I think partially it's because of the setup and everything. It's a real setup issue. There's a lot of exposition, but I will say Scott does a nice job of keeping the script moving while kind of dealing with all the exposition of the story. So it's just not say a really fast pace, and obviously this issue has a lot more questions and not very many answers, but that's okay because it's the first issue. Brokenshire's artwork is nice. It does a good job. I really like how he captures the visuals of the ghost, especially like the big kind of it's like a giant baby ghost, but it's not a baby. It's like this. It's really weird, but it looks really great. And like I said, I think the concept here is really good. It's sure there's a bit of Ghostbusters, but there's kind of a darker side, because they do show kind of what happens if you come in contact with the ghost. That's why they have the prisoners, collecting the ectoplasm. So it's off to a good start. I think, once again, you're not going to necessarily be overwhelmed by this first issue, but I think there's a lot of good ideas here. And it's definitely, I'll be checking out the second issue to kind of see where they take it from here. Next up, we have Stargirl, The Lost Children, #2. Written by Jeff Johns with artwork by Todd Knock. So what it is Stargirl and Red Arrow. So she's been having these nightmares about the JSA sidekicks, and they all seem to have been missing. And so what they've discovered is that there's this island in the Bermuda Triangle that is possibly where they might be. So they end up heading there, and then of course they kind of start to discover that that's where they are, but there's something else going on behind the scenes. So really the second issue is just kind of moving the story forward. It's kind of really discovering the mystery of the missing sidekicks, and also kind of especially Red Arrow, there's a lot of like, baggage that is haunting her from the past and stuff. And so there's kind of that going on. So once again, it's a second issue. It's continuing story. We're seeing it move along. It's moving along nicely. Johns is obviously, he created this, Stargirl, and has a huge fondness for the Justice Society. So I think it's kind of interesting how it's kind of about the using Stargirl to kind of bring in the other sidekicks, and I think that's quite fascinating. And we find out that Green Arrow has like an arrow cave, so it's kind of funny. There's some really good jokes there. But I'm liking how it's moving along. The really big win for me is I'm a big Todd Knock. I really love his artwork, and he's really doing a nice job here. And he really captures, especially the expressions and stuff. He's just really good at that. It's a good looking book. If you're a fan of, JSA or even Stargirl, I'm really enjoying this. I wasn't necessarily super overwhelmed with that first issue of Justice Society, but I am really liking Stargirl and the Lost Children. So definitely, I still think it's worth checking out. Next up, we have A Vicious Circle #1. Written by Matson Tomlin with artwork by Lee Bermejo. Now, this came out last week, and when I was doing the reviews, because I have a list of stuff in front of me, that's how I'm able to read and kind of remember all this stuff. For some reason, I got mixed up. I missed it and missed a couple books, and I really wanted to review this last week, but I am reviewing it this week. So first of all, this book was a big win. So basically what the story is Sean Thacker has this, I guess, ability to travel through time. And what we also learn is that there's another person. We don't know who this person is. It's kind of a mysterious, basically the villain. The villain also has the same ability. So what it is they're kind of, what it is Thatcher or Sean is traveling, basically chasing the criminal through time. That's really the basic setup here. So they're both from the future, so they're kind of going from the past to the future to different time periods. And so so that's the basic premise here. What really is intriguing, the concept is really good, and Tomlin's script is really, really good. The really big surprises with the artwork. Now, we all know Lee Bermejo's artwork, and it's kind of that painted, kind of semi Alex Ross kind of look. But what's interesting is when they start going through different time periods, he changes up the style of art, which is really fascinating because it kind of gives you a visual feel like, okay, now we're in this period and we go to this period, because it starts off back in just as segregation's going on. So that's kind of it starts with his normal Bermejo artwork, and then when they like jump to the future, it's like a different art style. So it's really a smart idea, because then it allows you to visually see, we're in this time period, but it really also adds a really gorgeous layer to the story. And like I said, the concept's really good. Like I said, Tomlin's script is really good for this first issue. He does a nice job of setting everything up, but moving the story along. And also, I think how it starts off, like, that Sean is just trying to have this normal life, and yet he can't because of, the bad guy, the code time traveler. And I think it's a great way. It started off really great. And I just really love it. I was really, really impressed. And I'm really sad that I didn't review this last week, but since this week is a small week, it kind of works out. But definitely, this is a must-buy book. It was one of the best books I read last week, and really, if your comic shop has it in stock, really check it out. It's really a great book, and I highly recommend it. Next up, we have Kroma #2, written and drawn by Lorenzo D. Felici. So what, once again, what it is this village has surrounded itself by, wall, and what they've discovered is, so everything in there is black, white, and gray. There's no color at all. And so what it is this girl, she has two different colored eyes. So there's obviously some sort of story of where she's come from. She's come from, I mean, they all came from the outside, but then they ultimately have, they even they go out and get like gray clay and put it on their food. There's like no color in the town. And what it is the girl escapes, the castle, or the village, and so she's out in the real world with all this color. And so there's this old guy who dresses up. He's dressed up as a bird, who saves her. What she finds out is the reason that they kind of wear no color or anything is because the animals can see color. So by turning themselves gray, and as long as they don't make any sudden movements, they don't, the animals don't see them. And so we kind of learn about, the difference between, because the old guy used to live in the village and he doesn't live there anymore. And there's kind of, I don't want to say any more about him because there's kind of a big thing at the end. But it's really, what's fascinating is that the story, the setup is just absolutely amazing. How you kind of have these two worlds that are like right together, but they're separate. We kind of know why they, have no color, but there's kind of there's more to it than just like, oh, we don't want to get eaten by the animals. So there's that kind of going on. But, so the story unfolds really well this second issue. And of course the artwork is absolutely stunning. The Felici's artwork is just, it's really just brilliant. And then with the use of color and how it's done, this book has really been a huge surprise. It's really amazing. The story is just rich and everything. And it really, it's really good stuff. I really highly recommend it. I really, really am loving this book. And the second issue really did a great job of building what that first issue did. So definitely check that out. If you've missed it, definitely you got to pick up both issues. But it's really good, and I love this book. Next up, we have Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths -- 7, written by Joshua Williamson, with artwork by Daniel Sampierre, Jack Herbert, Giuseppe Camuncoli, and Cam Smith, and Rafael Sandoval. So this is kind of a bit of a double-sized issue, sort of like an issue and a half. So this kind of wraps up the whole thing. And while I've enjoyed this series, ultimately it's all they really have done is, instead of, they've just brought everything back. They've brought the multiverses back. There's you have an Earth, you get an Earth, everybody gets an Earth. So basically what it is just, it's bringing everything back to the way it was pre-New 52. That's really what it is, because 52 was, really, there were 52 multiverses, but now it's ultimately wide open. And so really that is putting everything back into place. The ultimate question was, how necessary was this? I don't know that this book was really necessary, and I think it kind of goes back to, and this is nothing against the creative team, I think they did a good job with what they were doing. But ultimately, I think it's just this event fatigue, where, they build these things up to be these big changes, and then ultimately there really isn't a lot of change. And it's not that it, like I said, don't get me wrong, I don't think this book is horrible by any stretch of the imagination. I think I liked it better than I thought I would. But ultimately at the end, it's like, here's this event, now we have this event, and now we're setting up another event. That's how these go. And I think it's just like, there's just too many events. With that being said, like I said, I did like it. I think the story was pretty good. I did like how they really took the main heroes out, and it was really kind of a story about the younger heroes in the DC universe. I did really like that part, and I think that was a big plus, where you kind of got to see different heroes in a big crisis, where it's not just, the Holy Trinity and the rest of, the main DC characters. So on that level, I think I definitely liked what Williams did with that. The artwork overall is really good. Sampierre's artwork is really nice. The good thing is, even with the different artists, there wasn't a huge visual difference, so that was kind of good. It had a pretty good consistent look. You could tell like when one of the other artists took over, but it wasn't really jarring. So but ultimately at this point, you know, if it's something you're interested, I know there's gonna be a collection of this. So like I said, overall it was okay. I'm kind of evented out at this point. Next up we have Junkyard Joe #3, written by Jeff Johns with artwork by Gary Frank. So really this issue, because now Junkyard Joe is back with, you know, the guy from Vietnam who did the Junkyard Joe comics. And so he's trying to kind of figure out why Junkyard is back. But really this issue kind of really centers more on the neighbors that have just moved in and how they're adjusting to moving there, and how the kids are trying to adjust going to a new school. So really it's kind of this issue really centers on them to kind of set up their story, which I think at this point in the third issue is probably a wise idea, since they were introduced in the first issue, but kind of setting it up, you know, that they're going to be part of the story. So I think for Johns, this is actually, it's a good issue because you're kind of getting to know the family, which is always good, because we know the backstory of Junkyard and the comic creator. So we kind of gotten that all out of the way. So this issue centering on them is good. I'm enjoying it. This is a nice little surprise. It's not a big action comic, which I kind of like in that sense. And of course, you know, you have Gary Frank's artwork, which is it's really a gorgeous looking book. I've been, you know, pleasantly surprised. And I'm enjoying it. So I think it's worth checking out. Next up, we have Traveling to Mars #2, written by Mark Russell with artwork by Roberto Melli. So what it is Roy Livingstone is traveling. So he's dying of cancer. So there's a race to see who can get to Mars first, because whoever gets to Mars first claims Mars. So this fake meat company it's apparently beaten everybody else. So they sent Roy, because it's literally a one-way trip and he's dying anyway. So that's the basic premise. And while he's in space, it doesn't cure his cancer, but it really slows it down. So so he's by himself, but there are two robots, Leopold and Albert. So they're kind of like little kids. They don't understand things. So there's kind of like this issue, you kind of like, even though he's by himself, there's all these things like that they didn't plan for, like you can't turn out the lights, so he has a mask to put over so he can go to sleep. And then the two robots are like little kids, so he's kind of like, they don't understand certain things, so he's now kind of teaching them like things, like, you know, like they watch a movie and he's like, well, and they're like, is this what Earth is like? And you know, and of course movies are, you know, like outrageously insane sometimes. It's like, well, kind of, you know. So it's really a character study about Roy. I mean, there's the whole you know, one-way trip to Mars and that, but really this is a story about Roy and how he, like this issue, we really find out how, you know, he regrets certain choices in life and how things went, and we learn a lot about him, and that's what I really love about this book, is that the Mars thing, you know, obviously I think is really going to come into play later. This is really, Russell's so good at character study, and really he's developing Roy, and it's really a fascinating character study book. And I'm a big fan of Mark Russell, and I'm really loving this book. And Melly's artwork is really, really nice. It's a really good looking book. The story's great. Definitely check this out. I'm really, really loving this book, and it's really highly recommended. Next up, we have Mary Jane and Black Cat, #1, written by Jed McKay, with artwork by Venancio Carreto. So this apparently spins out of Dark Web, which I didn't read. But basically, it's MJ and Black Cat back together, and now Mary Jane has these powers, but it's literally, and they point this out, it's like a slot machine. She never knows what she's going to get, so she'll conjure her powers, and she doesn't know what it's going to do. So really, that's kind of what the story is. It's like just them hanging out. I mean, it's okay, but and the art by Corrado is nice, but they're really just not much meat on the bone. I mean, this is pretty basic superhero stuff, and it's fine, but once again, with so many books, even this week with a lighter week, there's still a bunch of books coming out. Is it good enough? And I just don't think it's in that class. I mean, I didn't find it insulting or anything. I mean, McKay's script's fine. It does its job. But really, at the end of the day, it's not really particularly memorable after you're done. You're like, okay, that's nice. And that's kind of where it lands. Like, it's a nice story, nice art, but really not particularly memorable after that. Next up, we have Nightwing 99, written by Tom Taylor with artwork by Bruno Redondo, and also Geraldo Burgess and Caio Felipe doing inks. So really, this is leading into next month's 100th Nightwing issue. So really, what this story is really about, Melinda. She's the mayor now, and her father, Tony Zuko, he got out of prison for good behavior. So basically what it is there's this place in Bloodhaven, the Hold, which is like a vault for things. It's like a bank vault, but more for like, criminals and stuff like that. You have this stuff stored. So there's a thing there that Tony kind of breaks into the place to get this stone. And so Nightwing, there's that kind of story. But really what the story is about is Melinda cleaning up Bloodhaven after, after all the stuff that's been happening lately. And so really that's kind of that, once again, this is what I really love about Nightwing is, there's the action and all the stuff, the bank robbery sort of thing. But it really, what Taylor continues to do with this book is really develop the characters. And really it's a story about these characters, not necessarily, like being superheroes and stuff. And really telling Melinda's story within this issue is really, really just wonderful. And it really fills out her character. I mean, we've learned about her, and it really is just, it's really, really nice. And once again, I'm a huge fan of this book. Tom Taylor just continues to knock it out of the park. I love Bruno Redondo's artwork. He's a wonderful artist. But Borges and Felipe do a nice job of, helping him, keep up with his monthly schedule. So I am a big fan of Nightwing, and if you're not reading it, you're missing really one of the kind of the best superhero comics going right now. Definitely check it out. Next up, we have I Hate Fairyland #2, written by Scotty Young with artwork by Brett Bean. So what we found out is this company has this millionaire or billionaire or whatever has discovered Fairyland, but he's trying to he wants to turn it into a giant amusement park. The problem is that when he sends people over there, they basically end up dying. So he finds out that Gert has been there, and that because she's been there, she can go back. So by sending her back, so she makes the deal. It's like, okay, I'll go back. I'll help you turn this into an amusement park, but I get half of everything. So the guy's like, okay, that's fine. So one of the things that that they end up bringing over is Rotwell, the rat that she had in the first series. And so he ends up going, basically he's her sidekick. And so they go back to Fairyland, but they end up in this place called Inferno, which is basically Fairyland's back door. So she ultimately now has to go through Inferno, kind of hell, to get to Fairyland. So that's really where we end up in this issue. Here's the thing, like I enjoy this book. It's a lot of fun, but it really is just kind of more of the same. I mean, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I just don't. I mean, the Inferno thing will be interesting, and we'll kind of see where that goes in the next issue. But really, it's kind of like just more of the same, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, if you really like the first one, I mean, this is definitely up your alley. Really, the big difference is I know Scotty Young did the first one. Brett Bean's doing a really nice job. I really like the artwork, and it definitely he definitely. It's not that he's mimicking Young's style, but he's definitely keeping the look of the characters and kind of that feel of the first series. It's fine for what it is. It's one of those, it's enjoyable read. I just don't know it's necessarily going to be for everybody, but if you're a fan of the original, then definitely you'll like this. And then finally this week we have Batman Superman World's Finest number 10, written by Mark Waid and Dan Mora. So David, the Boy Thunder, has been kidnapped by the Joker and the Key, and they're trying to like find out how, how he's obviously a key to something they don't quite know. So they're basically torturing him to try to find out. And so Superman's like on a rampage because he's pissed. He's up, he's really pissed that David's been kidnapped. And so what it is him and the Batman and the Teen Titans are looking for David, and they find him, and we find out that because of this later on that David actually is somebody else. I will not give that away, but it's kind of interesting. I'm really digging what Wade's doing with this book. I'm really enjoying it. And then you have Dan Mora's artwork, which is absolutely fantastic. It's just like I said, it's a fun book. It's really just fun superhero stuff, and Wade is so good at that. He's absolutely one of the best writers at just good superhero books. And like I said, then you have Dan Mora's artwork, which is just really just gorgeous. It's really a win. I'm really enjoying this book. I just love it. It's just fun. And there's certainly not a lot of those fun superhero books around anymore. That's gonna do it this week. Once again, a pretty short show, but it was a small week. As always, public service announcement. I get all my comics at Pulp Fiction Comics in Long Beach, California. Ryan Skinner runs a great store there. There's Annie, Eduardo, Derek, Wendy. It's really a great store. They have a great pull service, so you make sure you don't miss any of your new issues. They offer discounts on trades and paperbacks. They also have a really nice manga selection that Annie's really the manga girl, and she really takes care of that section. They offer discounts. They're really good, and if they'll special order something, if it's in stock with any of the distributors, they'll be able to get it for you. It's just a really great comic shop. If you live in more of the LA area, there's Pulp Fiction Culver City, same name, different owner, Chris and her team. They have a great pull service, offer discounts, but obviously I'm more partial to the Long Beach store. That's my store. But as always, please support your local comic shop. It's really important. They're really kind of the backbone of the industry. They really make sure that comics get to the consumer. And I know it's really tough right now with the economy all around the world. But definitely make sure that you pick up your books on a timely basis because they have to pay for them before you get them. So it's really important. And also we're coming right up to Christmas. Trades of graphic novels make great gifts, and I know that the Pulp Fiction Long Beach has a great selection. They even have some really good discounted books right now for the holidays. So definitely support your local comic shop. It's really good to make sure that they take care of you and you take care of them. So support your local comic shop. And as always, we end our show with please be kind. Kindness is look, kindness is free. Kindness can make your day. It can make everybody's day. It's just kindness literally makes the world go round. And I know this time of the year, everybody, but take what you do this time of the year with giving and sharing and take that with you all year long. That's what being kind's all about. It's been an up and down year for us all. But as always, take care of yourself, your friends, your family. Just have a great holiday, no matter how you celebrate it. But be kind, take care of yourselves. Thanks for watching. Like I said, I'm not sure if we'll do a show next week. We'll kind of see what books come in. We may skip a week, take a break, but we'll see. We'll kind of see where it lands. So there may or may not be a show next week. If not, then it'll be the week after, and we'll do the catch up. So take care of yourselves. Thanks for watching. Happy holidays. And this is Steven from popculturemaven.com signing off. And just take care of yourselves, and have a great end of the year. Thanks for watching. Okay. Oh, and please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We almost forgot that. All right. Take care, folks. We'll do it again next time. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.